World War II is often described as the conflict that reshaped the modern world. Between 1939 and 1945, nations rose and fell, alliances formed and collapsed, and technology advanced at unprecedented speed. Entire populations were mobilized, economies transformed, and continents turned into battlefields. Millions of lives were lost in decisive battles. And yet, in this alternate timeline, the end never truly came. In April 1945, as the Allies closed in on Berlin and the Pacific War reached a climax, neither side could secure total victory. Military exhaustion, supply shortages, and unexpected strategic maneuvers left the war in a deadlock. Germany retained significant parts of Eastern and Western Europe. Japan held on to its Pacific islands despite relentless American campaigns. The United Nations had not yet been conceived. Borders were in flux, governments operated under extreme stress, and civilian populations faced ongoing uncertainty. Economies strained under the weight of endless mobilization, while societies adapted to a new reality, a war with no end. The stalemate shifted the global balance. Ideologies were frozen in place. Fascism, democracy, and communism could not decisively triumph. Each nation became trapped in a perpetual state of tension, with diplomacy limited by the shadow of ongoing combat. Military strategists on all sides faced unprecedented challenges as the familiar momentum of war was replaced by constant attrition. Historians often ask how the world would have looked if World War II had ended in a stalemate. This documentary explores the human, technological, and geopolitical consequences of a conflict that never reached closure. From Europe's frozen fronts to the contested Pacific, from espionage to the early rise of nuclear weapons, the world became a delicate balance of fear, hope, and endurance. As the final months of the European war approached in our timeline, the Allied advance on Germany seemed inevitable. Yet in this alternate history, a combination of winter offensives, fortified positions, and logistical setbacks brought the fighting to a halt along the Oder-Elbe line. Cities such as Berlin, Dresden, and Hamburg remained contested, with neither side able to secure decisive control. Civilians endured months of siege conditions. Food shortages, intermittent bombardments, and the constant threat of street fighting became the norm. Underground networks and local councils attempted to maintain order, but governance was fragmented and inconsistent. Cultural life struggled to survive under the shadow of a continuous frontline. In occupied territories, the administrative apparatus of Germany remained functional, but resources were stretched to the limit. Resistance movements were active yet constrained, creating a tense equilibrium of localized conflict. Allied bombings continued, but their impact was mitigated by resilient infrastructure and strategic dispersion of assets. Political negotiations began in secret channels. Neutral nations attempted to broker ceasefires, but mistrust between the major powers prevented any formal agreements. Diplomats worked tirelessly to find solutions, but each breakthrough was offset by renewed hostilities elsewhere. Europe became a continent suspended in suspense, with every day a test of endurance and strategy. Economic life adapted to the stalemate. Industries shifted focus to repair and maintenance rather than new production. Black markets thrived as rationing continued, while technological advancements occurred slowly due to resource limitations. Civilians found ways to maintain communities, fostering resilience amidst the ongoing uncertainty. While Europe remained locked in a deadly stalemate, the Pacific theater also experienced an unexpected deadlock. American forces advanced cautiously against fortified Japanese islands, only to find that every conquest was met with fierce counterattacks. Islands that should have fallen quickly became sites of prolonged attrition. Naval battles raged with no decisive victor, while supply lines stretched dangerously thin. Japan, despite suffering heavy losses, managed to maintain control of key territories including Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Guerrilla tactics, fortified bunkers, and local reinforcements prevented full American occupation. Both sides faced the grim reality of a protracted war in the Pacific, with thousands of troops trapped in static positions for months on end. Meanwhile, colonial empires across Asia and Africa found themselves in limbo. European powers were unable to project full authority due to the stalemate at home. Local uprisings were neither crushed nor fully successful, leaving regions in a prolonged state of tension and uncertainty. Administrators struggled to maintain control, and civilians adapted to life under ambiguous sovereignty. The stalemate also intensified naval and submarine warfare. Control of shipping lanes became crucial, yet no fleet could dominate for long. Strategic bombings and supply convoys were met with equal resistance. The oceans became theaters of attrition, mirroring the frozen fronts of Europe. Technological innovation accelerated unevenly. Jet aircraft, rocketry, and radar continued to develop, but resource constraints prevented full deployment. Nuclear weapons research progressed in secret across multiple nations, each racing to break the stalemate. Scientists worked under intense pressure, aware that their discoveries might end the deadlock or escalate it further. Propaganda campaigns extended globally. Governments emphasized endurance, portraying stalemate not as failure, but as resilience. Civilians followed war news with a mix of anxiety and detachment, as the endless reports of skirmishes and inconclusive battles became the new normal. Espionage intensified on all fronts. Agents infiltrated occupied territories, gathering intelligence and sabotaging key installations. Technology played a pivotal role, from coded communications to early electronic surveillance. The stalemate created opportunities for spies to operate with strategic importance unmatched in a decisive war. Economically, the stalemate strained global trade. Nations redirected resources to military needs, creating shortages of consumer goods and increasing dependence on rationing. Black markets thrived, and international smuggling networks expanded, exploiting the ambiguity of contested regions. Local economies adapted in ad hoc ways, often improvising solutions to sustain populations. In this frozen global conflict, the lines between war and everyday life blurred. Soldiers, civilians, and administrators alike faced an existence where no victory was possible, yet survival demanded constant vigilance. The world had entered a new epoch, one defined not by triumphs or defeats, but by endurance, adaptation, and the daily negotiation of uncertainty. In the stalemated world of 1945 and beyond, ideological conflicts could not reach definitive conclusions. Fascism, communism, and democracy all maintained footholds, yet none achieved absolute dominance. Germany held on to territories it could not fully control, while the Soviet Union faced limits on its westward expansion. Democracies like Britain and the United States were unable to decisively reshape the global balance of power. Within Germany, the Nazi regime struggled to maintain internal cohesion. Propaganda continued to reinforce loyalty, but resource shortages and constant skirmishes eroded public confidence. The leadership faced internal dissent, with competing factions vying for influence while the front lines remained immovable. In the Soviet Union, Stalin's expansionist plan stalled at the frozen Eastern Front. While the Red Army remained formidable, attrition and logistical constraints prevented decisive breakthroughs. Civilian populations in occupied territories faced uncertainty as shifting military pressures prevented full integration into Soviet systems. Italy and Japan similarly struggled to maintain ideological and military control. Mussolini's Italy remained a shadow of former ambitions, while Japan retained its empire in name but faced unyielding Allied pressure in the Pacific. Ideologies persisted in rhetoric, yet practical enforcement faltered due to the unending nature of the conflict. In democratic nations, the inability to achieve victory fostered political debates and social unrest. Governments promoted unity and resilience, but citizens grew weary of endless conscription, economic hardship, and wartime restrictions. Elections, policies, and public opinion were shaped by the awareness that neither side could prevail. Espionage and intelligence operations became critical in maintaining ideological advantage. Nations invested heavily in coded communication, covert missions, and sabotage to tip the balance subtly without triggering large-scale offensives. The stalemate incentivized strategy over direct confrontation, highlighting the power of information in a static war. Cultural life reflected the frozen ideological landscape. Art, literature, and cinema were heavily influenced by prevailing ideologies, but innovation was suppressed due to ongoing conflict. Each side used culture as propaganda, reinforcing belief systems without allowing meaningful challenge or evolution. The stalemate reinforced a pervasive sense of uncertainty. Citizens, soldiers, and leaders alike lived in a world where ideological victory was impossible, yet survival depended on loyalty, adaptability, and vigilance. The global struggle had become less about conquest and more about endurance, with ideology existing as both a unifying force and a source of frustration. With Europe and the Pacific trapped in stalemate, a new phase of global tension emerged, an early Cold War. Nuclear weapons, still in development, became a central strategic concern. Both the Allies and Axis powers recognized that a single breakthrough could shift the balance. Yet no side could afford to escalate recklessly. The result was a global standstill marked by espionage, brinkmanship, and cautious technological races. Intelligence operations expanded dramatically. Spy networks operated across neutral and occupied territories, gathering information on troop movements, technological advances, and political intentions. Covert missions became as important as frontline battles, and the role of cryptography and counterintelligence grew exponentially. Propaganda and information campaigns reached unprecedented scale. Nations disseminated coded messages, subtle psychological tactics, and public narratives designed to maintain morale while concealing the stagnation. Radio broadcasts, leaflets, and underground publications became essential tools for both controlling and informing populations. Technological development was both a cause and consequence of the early Cold War. Jet aircraft, rockets, and radar systems evolved rapidly, yet resources were stretched thin by the stalemate. Each nation sought to achieve superiority without initiating a full-scale offensive, leading to innovations aimed at incremental advantage rather than decisive victories. Diplomatic efforts intensified to prevent accidental escalation. Conferences in neutral cities became critical points for negotiation, often lasting weeks with little visible progress. Alliances solidified, treaties were drafted, and covert agreements shaped the unseen balance of power. Civilians experienced life under constant uncertainty. Governments maintained rationing, curfews, and civil defense measures, knowing that any miscalculation could reignite active conflict. Education emphasized endurance, technological literacy, and awareness of global stakes. The early Cold War also gave rise to proxy conflicts in regions where direct confrontation was too risky. Skirmishes in remote areas tested strategies and morale without tipping the larger stalemate. Military advisors monitored these engagements carefully, drawing lessons for potential escalation or negotiation. Cultural life adapted to the era of tension. Literature, theater, and film explored themes of endurance, uncertainty, and moral ambiguity. Artists reflected the pervasive anxiety, creating works that questioned ideology, technology, and the human cost of endless stalemate. This early Cold War era set the stage for decades of technological, political, and ideological competition. While large-scale victories remained impossible, nations prepared meticulously for any potential shift in the stalemate. Strategy, intelligence, and resourcefulness became the currency of survival in a world frozen between war and uneasy peace. Life under the endless stalemate shaped a unique societal structure. Civilians learned to coexist with uncertainty, adapting routines around military schedules, rationing, and intermittent conflict. Communities developed informal governance structures, relying on local councils, neighborhood networks, and mutual aid to sustain order. Tradition persisted, but innovation slowed, as resources were prioritized for survival rather than creativity. Families coped with prolonged separation. Conscription and frontline rotations meant many households were missing fathers, brothers, and husbands for indefinite periods. Women assumed roles in factories, local administration, and clandestine resistance activities, while children grew up under the constant presence of military forces and propaganda. Education transformed to emphasize survival skills and ideological instruction. Curriculum included civil defense drills, basic first aid, rationing techniques, and loyalty to the nation. Teachers adapted to the challenge of teaching amidst uncertainty, often improvising classrooms in basements, shelters, or partially damaged buildings. Healthcare faced immense pressure. Hospitals were understaffed, medical supplies scarce, and epidemic outbreaks frequent. Doctors and nurses operated in extreme conditions, improvising treatments and prioritizing critical cases. Communities developed networks for home care and alternative remedies to supplement overburdened medical systems. Economic life adapted to prolonged conflict. Traditional trade routes were disrupted, industrial output was diverted to military needs, and markets relied heavily on rationing and black market exchanges. Communities found creative solutions to maintain food supply, housing, and essential services despite the lack of a clear end to the war. Cultural life persisted in pockets of resilience. Underground theaters, clandestine concerts, and hidden art exhibitions flourished in defiance of restrictions. While large-scale artistic movements slowed, intimate cultural expression became a lifeline for morale and identity, providing moments of humanity amidst the stagnation. Social hierarchies shifted subtly. Military leaders retained influence, but civilian networks gained importance in maintaining day-to-day life. Local leaders, merchants, and educators became critical to sustaining communities, creating a hybrid societal structure where official authority and informal governance coexisted. Psychologically, the stalemate shaped collective attitudes. Patience, adaptability, and caution became core virtues. Optimism and despair coexisted, with each day blending uncertainty, survival, and moments of normalcy. Civilians navigated a world where victory was impossible, yet life demanded persistence and resilience. The stalemate society was neither utopian nor dystopian. It was a human adaptation to prolonged conflict, a world where structure existed alongside uncertainty, and where daily life balanced between routine and vigilance. People endured, communities persisted, and humanity survived in a delicate, tension-filled equilibrium. In a world where World War II ended in stalemate, potential outcomes diverged from our historical timeline. Diplomatic negotiations, though cautious, took on heightened importance as each side sought to consolidate gains without reigniting full-scale war. Ceasefires were temporary, fragile, and geographically limited, creating a patchwork of contested zones where peace existed only in theory. Technological competition intensified in the absence of decisive battles. Both sides pushed the development of nuclear weapons, jet aircraft, and rocketry. Scientific progress accelerated, but the lack of clear victory meant innovations were often deployed in limited capacities, serving as deterrents rather than instruments of conquest. Economically, nations attempted to recover from the endless war while still preparing for potential escalation. Resource management became strategic, with stockpiles of food, fuel, and industrial materials dictating military and civilian priorities. Black markets, barter systems, and local industries flourished to fill gaps in official supply chains. Social and political transformations accelerated in contested regions. Governments experimented with local autonomy, provisional administrations, and community councils to maintain order in areas where authority was unclear. Populations adapted, developing hybrid systems of governance combining formal military oversight with grassroots organization. Cultural evolution continued under unique constraints. Artists, writers, and performers explored themes of endurance, uncertainty, and moral ambiguity. While large-scale artistic movements slowed, small-scale, intimate expressions became significant markers of identity and resilience. The nuclear arms race created a precarious balance. Nations developed deterrent strategies to prevent escalation, with early experiments in diplomacy and intelligence playing a critical role. Awareness of catastrophic potential restrained both sides, yet anxiety and paranoia permeated political and military planning. Proxy conflicts and localized skirmishes tested strategies without altering the larger stalemate. Remote territories became experimental grounds for military tactics, intelligence operations, and limited technological deployment. Each encounter offered lessons for global powers without producing a decisive shift in control. Ultimately, the stalemate shaped a world where uncertainty was a permanent condition. Human innovation, societal adaptation, and technological progress continued, but the absence of a final resolution left nations in perpetual tension. Negotiated settlements were tentative, fragile, and continuously challenged by shifting military realities. The alternate outcomes of a stalemated World War II highlight the complexity of global conflict. Humanity endured without decisive triumphs or defeats, navigating a delicate balance of diplomacy, technology, and daily survival. The world became a tapestry of provisional victories, temporary truces, and continuous adaptation. In the stalemate world of World War II, scientific progress continued, yet the lack of decisive victory shaped its trajectory. Research in physics, chemistry, and engineering advanced rapidly, but application remained cautious. Technologies such as radar, jet engines, and early computing were developed to gain strategic advantage, while large-scale deployment was limited by ongoing resource constraints. Nuclear research became a secretive race across multiple nations. Laboratories operated under tight security, aware that breakthroughs could end the stalemate or provoke catastrophic retaliation. Ethical questions arose, but survival and strategic advantage outweighed philosophical debate. Medical science adapted to prolonged conflict. Physicians and researchers experimented with treatments for battlefield injuries, infectious diseases, and malnutrition. Field hospitals became centers for improvisation, and innovations in triage, surgical techniques, and epidemiology saved countless lives under extreme conditions. Aerospace engineering advanced significantly, driven by the need to outmatch enemy forces. Jet aircraft prototypes, rocketry experiments, and missile development were pursued by multiple nations. However, the frozen fronts prevented full deployment, creating a landscape where experimentation often outpaced practical use. Communication and intelligence technologies grew in importance. Cryptography, radio interception, and code breaking became essential tools. Espionage relied heavily on these advancements, shaping strategy and determining the flow of information across the stalemated world. Scientific collaboration across borders was limited and clandestine. Despite shared challenges, mutual distrust prevented open exchange. International conferences were rare and heavily monitored, emphasizing secrecy over cooperation. Despite the constraints, small-scale innovation flourished. Engineers, technicians, and field scientists found ways to improvise solutions, creating practical applications under pressure. These innovations often remained localized but had profound effects on survival, efficiency, and tactical advantage. Education in science shifted to emphasize practical skills and strategic thinking. Schools and universities adapted curricula to train individuals who could contribute directly to national survival and technological competition. Theoretical exploration was secondary to functional research. Ultimately, science in this stalemated world reflected human adaptation under constraint. Curiosity persisted, innovation continued, and progress unfolded, but always within the delicate balance imposed by an unending conflict. Knowledge advanced, but questions of moral, philosophical, or societal impact often remained unresolved. In a world where World War II ended in stalemate, the familiar arcs of history, triumph, defeat, liberation, and reconstruction never fully materialized. Nations endured, societies adapted, and technology advanced, but the absence of decisive victory left humanity suspended in a perpetual state of uncertainty. Frontlines remained frozen, ideological conflicts unresolved, and global power distributed unevenly without clear dominance. Civilians learned resilience and pragmatism, adapting to survival without the promise of resolution. Communities became self-sustaining, blending official governance with local councils. Culture persisted in pockets, reflecting endurance and human creativity under constant tension. Education, science, and technology progressed, though often constrained by resource limits and the shadow of military stalemate. Politically, the stalemate encouraged diplomacy, espionage, and cautious negotiation. Proxy conflicts, technological races, and intelligence operations replaced large-scale confrontations. Nations navigated a precarious balance, where survival depended on strategy, adaptability, and vigilance rather than traditional victory. Psychologically, humanity existed in a state of continuous tension, where hope and despair intertwined. Life was measured not by conquest or achievement, but by endurance and adaptation. Values shifted towards pragmatism, resilience, and community cohesion, emphasizing the human capacity to survive under extreme uncertainty. Ultimately, a stalemated World War II reshaped the world not through victories or defeats, but through the persistence of human society in the face of endless conflict. This alternate history serves as a meditation on the consequences of unending war, the fragility of progress, and the endurance of humanity when history itself is suspended. It is a story of survival, adaptation, and the quiet, uncelebrated heroism of living in a world without resolution.